Baltimore and W. As good as it sounds, but it's better than it looks because we are 3-4 coming in on Thursday night. It'll be ugly. I mean, a lot of purple, a lot of orange, a lot of color rush. Hal Habib knows ugly. He's been covering the Dolphins for a number of years now. He is at the Palm Beach Post. You can follow him at Gunner Hal on Twitter. And, the Fish at 4-2, for all that's gone wrong there, man, losing two quarterbacks. You got an O-line coach doing lines on video. You got an AWOL linebacker. I don't know that the sky is falling in Miami, certainly in as good a shape as I've seen the Dolphins in a long time, despite not being so good on the field, right?
Well, we're not used to this. The Dolphins are always up to something, no bully gate this year, but we've been displaced by a hurricane. The bye week has been wiped out. Then the offensive line coach was, for some reason, videotaping himself doing that snorting. There's never a dull moment here, but despite it all, they somehow figured out a way to get things right, and that's got to be a credit to Adam Gase and the players because there are a million reasons that they could just be throwing excuses at us, but they've decided not to go that route, and kind of a curveball for this Miami Dolphin franchise.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got 20 guys on IR. I'll throw the excuses out. I mean, we stink right now, and we're playing with third-string wide receivers and second-string, really all over the offense at this point. Flacco's under heat, Harbaugh's under heat, but, beating the Dolphins could fix things here. Look, this is not that tall a task. This is a Dolphins team now working on a third quarterback. They've really had trouble offensively doing much of anything, haven't they?
They have. For a good portion of the year they have, although the interesting part is if you look at the past couple of games in the second half, when they've had to come through on offense, they have. I mean, they came back from 17 down in Atlanta, then 14 down against the Jets, and it's really there's a spark that came when Matt Moore came into the game against the Jets. It didn't look like the same plotting offense, and that's something that the Ravens are going to have to contend with. It's, I guess, good for the neutral spectator on Thursday night because too often, up until this point, the Dolphins could put you to sleep on offense.
Well, what was wrong with Matt Moore to begin with? I mean, obviously all the Gase has been through there, going from Tannehill, then resurrecting the career of Jay Cutler and bringing him back. I think it is a sign that Matt Moore took the offense down the field against the Jets on Sunday, and certainly there have been some football people this week that have indicated that, Matt Moore might have been a better option all along than Jay Cutler.
Well, you're actually talking to one of those guys. I know, we got to get real here. Jay Cutler and Adam Gase have a history together. They were in Chicago, and even before Ryan Tannehill went down, whenever you mentioned Jay Cutler's name, Gase would have complimentary things to say. I remember at one point I brought up something about Cutler going into the broadcasting business, and it seemed kind of odd to me because, let's face it, Cutler wasn't known as the most outgoing, guy around. And
communicator was not on his resume, from what I understood, right?
Yeah, uncommunicator maybe was, and so. Even then, Gase said, "Yeah, I could see that. I know Jay Cutler better than most people, and he's not the guy that the public perceives." So that was the kind of defense that Gase would put up there for Jay Cutler. So, when Ryan went down, I think the knee-jerk reaction was, "Oh, Gase is going to look to Cutler," and that turned out to be the case. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking, well, let's take a look at what Matt Moore did when he came in at the end of last year. And there are a lot of good things that Matt Moore did. And if you go back several years behind that, there was a season when Matt Moore was his team's MVP. And to me, you can never go through a season with a mediocre backup quarterback. You got to make every attempt you can to have someone competent back there, just in case your quarterback goes down, which pretty much it happens to everybody in this league these days. And so, yeah, if it were me, I probably would have leaned on Matt Moore at that point and maybe brought someone in to back up Matt. Especially, they threw $10 million at Cutler to bring him in here. And now, it's not Cutler's fault that he got hurt, but overall, I think the offenses look a lot different when Moore is in there compared to when Cutler is.
Well, certainly, if there is any optimism at all heading into this game, then the backside of that is, a little bit of a bye weekend, kind of like what we have here. And then Oakland, the weird thing is this New England-Buffalo heavy dose of division football beginning after Thanksgiving. 2 games with the Patriots, 2 games with the Bills. It's all sitting there that if they could get better or get improved, or if Matt Moore made them better, certainly 4-2 at this juncture in the season, Cutler's left him in decent position, that's for sure, right?
Yeah, definitely. The interesting part of the puzzle is, okay, what happens if Moore comes in, plays well, and Cutler is out for, 3 games? I'm just throwing out a number. Sure. What happens at that point? And, Gase doesn't want to go there. He doesn't want to talk about that. And I think, what I think it comes down to more than anything really is that Adam Gase is doing whatever he can to avoid a quarterback controversy. I think in some ways it's not always about performance. I think it's more about the ramifications of a team that is going through a quarterback controversy. And, when Moore came in and threw his first touchdown pass against the Jets, I kind of blurted out in the press box, the Dolphins are coming back now, and this is Adam Gase's worst nightmare.
Well, and in this case, the offensive line has to be better no matter who the quarterback is, right? I mean, Tunzel went down the other day, and we're always going to tie Tunzel with Ronnie Stanley around here in the gas mask video. I mean, it certainly changed the entire complexion of the draft last year. It changed our organization moving forward. The Tunzel wasn't taken on that first pick, and certainly guys would have dropped down. The Dolphins took him, but Pouncey, injuries, inconsistency, and really they would love to run the football here on Thursday night against the defense that has really been leaky against the run.
It's funny you mention that, because when you talk to the Dolphin coaches, and I guess this is maybe somewhat predictable, if you just listen to what they said about the Ravens defense, you would think that Miami is about to face the number 1 defense in the NFL. And obviously the numbers don't say that. The Ravens are giving up 145 a game on the ground. But it is a little bit tricky in that, as well as I do, that the Ravens have always been a tough matchup for the Dolphins. And on top of that, 4 out of the 5 Dolphins offensive linemen who start have some sort of nagging injury. So, and on top of that, the one guy who's healthy is Jermon Bushrod, the guard, who I'm not sure has played all that well this season. So, yeah, it could be a thing where the Dolphins run well, and it's about time that they get Jay Ajayi going again. But, who's to say? Maybe this is a game where the Ravens defense steps up and looks like the Ravens defense.
Hal Habib covers all things fish down there for the Palm Beach Post. You can follow him at the Palm Beach Post. They do a nice job of blogging all things Dolphins. You can also follow him out on Twitter at Gunner Hal. That's Gunner Hal. He is Hal Habib. All of this brought to you by our friends at D&L Window Tinting. 26 years of tinting everything, cars, boats, business. They put the shades on the sun. They take away the squint. They're in Parkville and White Marsh, and proud longtime sponsors of all things we've done here in this century. Also, Deli Ish over on Wise Avenue in Dundalk. They got that New York-style deli over there with some delicious Reubens and the corned beef and legit sandwiches like their curly fryer. Tasty pickles, and they cater in for the holidays. Deli Baltimore for Deli Ish out on the internet. Hal, for the Ravens, and I know we saw you guys in preseason. We didn't have Flacco at that point. This is like, when you look down on the roster, if you start looking at the depth chart on the offense, you won't recognize any of the names. I mean, the guys are all gone. We're kind of crossing our fingers for Macklin to come back, but the days of Dennis Pitta and Crockett Gilmore and Max Williams and the draft picks and, where Brashad Perryman is, who has a background down there playing in Florida. I mean, all these guys gone now. Terrence West, gone. Kenneth Dixon, gone. Marshall Yanda, gone. Alex Lewis, gone. And the Ravens are just playing along here, but this has been painful to watch, to be honest, to see the dismantling of our team on a Thursday night game that we sort of circled as a number 2 pencil W that now we're looking at. I mean, there are no W's on the Ravens' schedule right now the way they're playing.
Yeah, I can believe that. I was actually talking to John Harbaugh, and he mentioned to me the story about Griff Whalen, who we know down here because he was in Dolphin camp. And he said, yeah, we called Griff, and he was working at Gold's Gym, and we signed him, and he did well. And I said, wait a minute, where did you find him? And Harbaugh laughed, and he said, yeah, he said he was at Gold's Gym, and he started breathing hard when he picked up the phone. So I guess he was telling the coach what he wanted to hear.
Well, I mean, he was out there catching balls on Sunday. I mean, Case Keenum. We saw the Vikings on their third quarterback, right, from Bridgewater to Bradford to Case Keenum. They beat us. They beat us handily. The defense got the job done. They're onward and upward, thinking they're going to host the Super Bowl and play in it, 13 weeks from now. And now we're going to see a third-string quarterback come in and sort of a wily veteran, would you call Matt Moore, who thinks of himself a little bit as a gunslinger, right? I mean, he's going to want to throw the ball to Landry, right?
Well, that's the thing. It was really surprising to me. Adam Gase is an offensive-minded coach, and I thought, liked to take shots downfield, and he certainly did at times with Tannehill. And then earlier this year, it was really surprising to me how many of these 5-yard and 7-yard passes we were seeing. And at one point, Landry's per-catch average was something so tiny you needed a microscope to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, Matt Moore comes in, and, you see a long touchdown pass to Kenny Stills, and you see even Anthony Fasano, who hadn't had a catch all year, made a big catch. I think it was 22 yards downfield. Landry is obviously a very dependable target that any quarterback would want as an outlet. And Landry is now actually on a career-best 3-game streak with touchdown catches. So you got all this going on, and it's sort of a chicken and egg thing maybe of, are they taking more shots because Moore is in there, or is it just Moore being the gunslinger type? At one point the other day against the Jets, for some reason Gase thinks that teams just love blitzing Matt Moore, and as soon as Moore sees that, his instinct is if he gets any kind of time, he's going to look all the way downfield and fling it, and that's what we've seen. Now, having said that, Devontae Parker, who's the other deep threat, has been out, didn't play against the Jets, and we're not sure if he's going to play Thursday night. So the Ravens could catch a break there, although, we'll see. The Dolphins really, without Parker, are too deep at wide receiver. I don't think the third receiver, whether it's Carew or Jakeem Grant, I don't think that'll concern Baltimore a whole lot at all.
Well, we're 0 deep on our wide receiver right now. Hal Habib joining us here. He is Gunner Hal down at Palm Beach Post. He's a Bruce Springsteen fan, which is one of many reasons I bring him on, but certainly learning about this defense. I look at the Dolphins defense, and I know we played preseason. I looked at these names. I don't know where Malaluga was in his career, and I know Marvin could use help. Certainly Lawrence Timmons coming out of Pittsburgh. Maxwell got released this week with a $10 million contract out of Philadelphia. They brought Sue in from Detroit. But I still think Cameron Wake's the best football player on maybe on the team, if not on the defense with Miami. There's no rest in that guy. He's going to harass Joe Flacco on Thursday night.
Well, Wake is one of those just freaks of nature. He's got a diet that's legendary on this team. You go up to any other player on the team and ask about the Cam Wake diet, and they'll look at you. It's like, no way I'm touching his diet. And he's 35, and he's playing like he's 25, and coming off, 2 years ago, he had that Achilles surgery and came back, made the Pro Bowl, and now he's on track to make it again. He is a huge factor. He made some big impact plays in the second half against the Jets. And on top of that, it's really surprising. Last year, this Miami defense was giving up as many yards on the ground as the Ravens are this season. And yet Miami, with new coordinator Matt Burke, has really turned it around. They've been in the top 5 in run defense this year. You mentioned Lawrence Timmons a minute ago. He obviously went AWOL during the trip to California, and people are wondering, well, are they just going to boot him out the door? Or,
did we ever figure that out? Was that anything ever leak out of that other than the fact that he went AWOL?
No, Lawrence was really embarrassed by the whole thing. a couple of days after they brought him back, there was a news conference in which he answered about a dozen or whatever questions, and every question he would just say, "I'm happy to be here." So he never shed light on it. He was that embarrassed about the whole thing. And the answer to why they stuck with him, why they brought him back, became abundantly clear to everybody once he got back in the game, because the guy is just a short tackler, brings a lot of that aggressive nature to the defense that was lacking. Nobody was more critical of the linebackers on this team over the past several years than I was. And now you look out there, and Kiko Alonso is back to pretty close to the form he showed in Buffalo as a rookie. He's looking really good. Timmons is so solid, a short tackler. Malaluga is, they're spotting him in there, and he's having an impact, and that's a big body in the middle. So there's so much going on, and, you look at the back end, don't forget, last year their safeties, every one of their safeties went down, and now Rashad Jones is back there, and he's just a real big factor in run support. You'll see him getting close to the line of scrimmage and making some big stops on Thursday night for sure.
Hey, man, always appreciate visiting with you. We're going to send everybody out to Gunner Hal on Twitter to follow Hal Habib. He covers all things Dolphins as a sports writer on the beat down there at the Palm Beach Post, where the weather is better than it is here. Hey, man, we'll see you on Thursday night at the old ballpark, and oh, man, it's going to be ugly, all that purple and all that orange on the rest of America as well as our own eyes.
Turn down the color on the TV, make it black and white. How about that?
It'll feel like old-time football if we do that. Hal Habib is Gunner Hal out on Twitter. You can find me out on the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We got a busy week around here with the hockey, basketball, baseball, World Series, and a little bit of red zone football over the weekend as well as we try to get through this thing here this week. We'll be out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.